For this project, I did the number of students enrolled at the top 100 universities in the world. This data set is a sample of an entire population, and there was about 500 universities on this whole list, and I just cut it down to 100. I listed the top three on this list. Number one being Harvard with 20,152 students enrolled. Number two being the California Institute of Technology with 2,243 students enrolled. And number three being Massachusetts Institute of Technology with 11,074 students enrolled. This data set has a mean of 50.5, the median being the same thing, of 50.5, and the mode having no values occur more than once, making their no mode. And I found the standard deviation to be 70.003573134. I made a histogram for this data set, the bottom of the histogram being the number of students in thousands, and the other part of the histogram being how many schools have that many number of students. This histogram is skewed to the right, and I did the z-scores, and I took the highest amount of students enrolled at one school, which was the University of Toronto, and found the z-score of 944.96. And I found that by doing that number minus the mean divided by the standard deviation. And I also found it for the lowest, which is L'École de Lyon in France, and that is 30.96. I also made a box and whisker plot for this data set and found the IQR for it, and the first quartile being 20, third quartile being 486, and the inner quartile range being 466. There were no outliers, and then after this, I found the 95th percent of taking two standard deviations away from the mean and got 190.5, and that's in thousands. As to why I chose this data set, I thought with going to college next year, it was really fitting to look at how many different enrollment rates there were. I know, enrollment rates for me wasn't, a huge decision factor on making my college decision, but I know for some people, the size of their school is very important to them, if you want a big school or you want a small school. So looking at this 100 schools, seeing how many vast majorities there could be with enrollment rates, I thought it was really interesting to see, especially with a school a number two school like the California Institute of Technology. There's only around 2,000 people, and I think that's really interesting, especially if you were looking to go there. I wasn't necessarily hoping to find anything with this data set. I was just more interested in the data set as a whole, but there was no specific thing I wanted to find with the math I did, because this topic is pretty broad of enrollment rates. One of the things that stuck out to me the most was the fact that, like I said before, having one of the top three schools, there could be such a low enrollment rate or such a high enrollment rate, and if that makes it the top school because they accept a lot of people or they don't accept a lot of people, and if they don't accept a lot of people, does that make it a better school because they're more prestigious? Then I thought it was really interesting to see how they work. And I know that the California Institute of Technology, I've heard of the Massachusetts one a lot more, and that one has a lot more students, and the California one, which is number two on this data set, only has 2,000 people, and then that makes a lot of sense. It correlates. There's only 2,000 people in that school, and it's on the other side of the country from where we are, and Massachusetts, there is 11,000 people, and it gets a lot of more recognition. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and I enjoyed looking at this data set.